Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Legacy Conversations, and I'm your host, Jacqueline Hyacinth, aka Jackie Ma. This is a platform for spiritual leaders to come together to share their hearts, uh, focus on world events, talk about their journeys, their stories, as a means of bringing unity, healing, and hopefully making the world a better place. Today, I'm joined by my beloved sister Ra, who is a waterborne medicine woman from South Africa who came through the apartheid and has had an incredible journey that led her through Egypt, Turkey, France, and the UK, and to me. So I'm looking forward to introducing her, bringing her on so that we can share our hearts today and weave some beautiful magic. So without further ado, welcome, Ra, welcome.
Thank you, my beautiful sister, for having me. It feels just so wonderful to be sitting down with you and poised to share.
Mm,
Mm,
poised to share. Yeah.
poised.
Ra and I have some incredible conversations. And so they need to be recorded because there's always so much wisdom and so much medicine that comes through just from the space of connection. And so I'm really grateful today to weave with you. So I'd like to begin sort of at the beginning. When we talk about legacy, as we know, we're talking about where we've come from and where we're going, and just
Yeah.
the inheritance that we are of our own ancestry. So you were born in South Africa. Let's just kind of start in that
Yeah,
space.
thank you. I was born in Cape Town, um, in a colored township, with people who have been colonized and moved from their original homes and places where they've lived. My mother is a descendant of Bushman ancestry,
Mm.
and my father of Indian, 90% Indian and a little bit of English. Um, yeah, and I was born into this family. My mom embraced Islam to join my father's family. She's always wanted to be Muslim, she told me. Many years later, it was something that she didn't just do it for him. She chose to do it even before him. And so love kind of just was the perfect reason for her to fully embrace it. Mm.
Wow. It that just reminds me that there's a calling always beforehand. The seed was already there.
Yeah, I always thought, oh no, my mom did it because of my father and she changed her whole life for him. But actually, that was just, that's not her true story. Her true story, she
Mm.
told me, was that she just always admired. She came from a Christian background and she just always admired the clothes of the Muslim people, the way they celebrated, the fact that there was constant celebration. It wasn't just on Sundays. And I think she really loved I mean, my mother is such a devoted Muslim, 5 times a day prayer, and it's just
Oh,
complete giving, complete love.
wow. That's powerful.
Yeah.
And now, how was
It,
that for you? Like, how did
yeah,
you?
I loved it when I was younger. You have a sense of belonging.
Mm,
You know your place in the community and in the social world, and everybody else knows your place. So there's comfort in that. But at some point, it felt like I had learned everything within that social structure that I could, and that I was being invited to seek and to learn more beyond that.
mm, yeah.
Yeah, that was tough, That was a really tough time of feeling like I've learned everything here. And what does it mean? Am I betraying my people? Because all of these things
Yeah.
stir in you, and other people also reflect that. So I had to really dig deep and feel in my heart, what is it? At the time, I did not know that it was my matriarchal lineage that was calling me. It was the mother line that was saying, come, there's
Mm,
more, there's more.
mm. I love that. And then the
Mm,
journey begins.
yeah.
Yeah, that's seeking. Mm. And so tell me a little bit. We talked about that you've moved to a new home.
Yes.
So I want to lean into that because yeah, around race, there's so much. I mean, living in America, we have a much different story. I mean, there's still colonization here, but the story that you're living is very different from here. So I just want to really honor the full perspective and also give the audience a perspective of like what's going on in different parts of the world.
Yeah. I mean, most of my family still live on the Cape Flats.
Okay.
So part of that colored community, and then just outside of it, but within close distance to one another. And then I live more than an hour away along the coast. And this area, people of color were forbidden from living here. You could not live here.
Mm,
Um, and so for me to find myself here, because it feels like there was this movement, there was this movement for me to come here, and there was great resistance. Andrew fell in love with this plot, and I just said, no ways, I'm not going to live up there. Are you mad? How's it going to feel for me? Because I already know there's some challenges to really owning your sense of belonging and to not make it about apartheid and the past. And even though, of course, that's all real, but to honor that there is a reason why Spirit wants me to be here,
mm,
why this place has opened up and welcomed us, and how this home came to be built. Every part of the process was just full of medicine and learning, and we had to grow as a couple and a family before this home could be erected.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then meeting all the right people, the German South African builder born in Peru. I just thought, like, of all the configurations in the world, Spirit really has a sense of humor. And
Mm,
they're just really finding a beautiful way, Zimbabwean builders and the plumber being of people whose family were actually removed from this very place where we are
wow.
living, from this very town. And to see the healing it brought for them to be involved with another woman of color who
Yeah.
is actually now just naturally coming. In the beginning, quite a strange feeling, like, how is this happening, and feeling the questions, and then in the end just really feeling something healing for them,
Mm,
having a cup of tea with me, and coming into the house and having some cake or something,
yeah.
something that is connected to the land now in a very different way, in a celebration of homemaking.
Wow, that's so beautiful. So I'm just
Mm,
curious, in the community where you are, do
yes.
they truly see you as a woman of color? Seeing as though you're light skinned, do they acknowledge you as being different from them?
It feels like, yeah, there's an awareness there's an awareness when we are not like everybody else.
Hmm.
And so when everyone is looking the same, it's the same when I go to my family home or to my parents. I also no longer carry the same frequency I did when
Yeah.
I was a little girl there. So I've really also changed there. So I often find myself I'm in the in-between place. I am
Hmm.
of there, but I have changed so much that when I am there, I really have to adapt. And I think they too have to adapt. So it's the same year. I do not respond anymore to people who look at me or when I feel like there's other. I can now just be in that silence and just go, it's okay. We're all in this learning together. What does it
Yeah.
mean for me to be here? What am I going to do? You know, there's a lot of questions. What am I going to
Yeah.
get up to on this piece of land?
Mhm. When we spoke in a former conversation, we touched in a little bit about
Mm,
how we know that um, political ideas and beliefs and the pain of the past sort of reflects and mirrors in today's relating. So we talked
yeah,
about it's polarized on both ends. So whether you're European, or white South African, or whether you're in a brown body, that both of the bodies of people, even people, are both have
yeah,
their own what's the word I want to use? I don't want to use race or racism, but they all have their own anger, resentment, unresolved feelings, or collective conditioning that they're carrying. So it's not
yeah.
like heavier on one side. It's just it's people.
It's people.
Yeah.
And we really have to consciously make an intention to connect with people who are outside of our communities. That it really
Mm,
requires intention and then commitment.
yeah.
And so that's what I observe here where I live now. There's not a lot of intermingling with others.
Mm,
There's still, keeping to our own group and our own people. And that's across the world. That's very visible in South Africa. It happens in my mother's community where my brothers live. It's the same there. It's not so easy to mingle with other people somehow. And
mm.
yet, well, for me, it's a whole different story.
Yeah, I know. I want to segue us there in a minute. I just want to, reflect again. I'm in New York and I consider it a blessing. I grew up in such a multi-ethnic and diverse world. Like it was no big deal for us. Like we had
Yeah,
everybody growing up as kids. I mean, like it just so it's second nature for me just based on my upbringing, but people
yeah,
who don't live and grow up in that environment, it's foreign to them. And
yeah,
so, and now, I mean, it's still that way here, but now obviously there's a lot more separation, and
yeah,
there's a lot of conditioning. So I do feel like people tend right now to be like moving back into um, community with bodies that look more like them. Not me per se, but um, so I see that happening. It honestly, it elicits a great deal of grief in me, and because it's not what I've seen. Like I actually felt unity about it, from the beginning. And I
yeah,
raised children of color, and so for me it feels like a step backwards. It feels like that. It feels like a lot, and so, but you are experiencing this. This is happening all the time, where you are.
yeah. I move between the communities, and then I am witness to how the different communities, not 100%, but at least 80%, are in a way all grouping together with people who look like them and
Mm.
behave like them. And obviously, also belief system plays a role
Yeah.
there. Um, I suppose my understanding of that has also changed in that perhaps this is part of how the healing works.
Yeah.
Some of us, we have soul contracts and we're able to be shapeshifters. We can flit into that community and then flit
Yeah.
into this community. And I find that that's how my life naturally is. I'm not trying to do anything. It just is that way.
Yeah.
And yet, it is not the same for my relatives. For my relatives, their reality is that it is just within their immediate family and small groups.
Hmm.
And they learn about other, maybe to some degree through me.
Yeah.
That there's that kind of, not to put myself on a pedestal or anything like that, but that's my experience to hear, what is it you do? And if I say, well, I can go down to the beach before I start my work day, or I can go for a walk around the mountain at the end of my day. it's a phenomenon to them because their
Mhm.
lives are rooted in survival. And when they get home, it's a different kind of relaxation. Where here I am, I have so much choice, and
Mm.
there's so much connection with nature.
Yeah.
So
This feels this is just feels
mm,
like such a rich inheritance. Like it was the generations before you didn't have this accessibility, and now your consciousness is bringing this level of openness, and so you're not confined in the same way.
no, no, I'm
No.
not. But I
Mm.
also choose not to be, and it
Yeah.
feels like that leap of faith to leave had all of these kind of, the ripple just continues, the ripple continues.
Yeah.
And
It
this is
requires
part of that.
courage,
It does.
a
Yeah.
great deal of courage to live one's own life and to individuate,
Yeah.
especially from a body of people who have experienced so much. And we know that still that togetherness is what was a method of survival and care. And so to hold that love and survival and care within your heart and still choose to be the bird and to be free and to bless your own life, but also bless your lineage. That's beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It is a courageous journey that, I know that I'm going to fall again,
Hmm.
continuously. There's boulders in the path that I have to face and sit with and go, okay, so here you are again, a different
Yeah.
boulder, a different lesson of patience. And this is part of the initiation of how life initiates me. I feel very blessed that one of my early teachers told me, your life is going to continue to initiate you. You
Hmm.
can continue to have mentors and you can continue to come and see me, but your life is going to initiate you. That's going to be the big initiations is going to come naturally
Hmm.
throughout your life with much struggle and grief and all of the
Yeah.
things that go with that.
Mm.
Mm.
There's power in somebody even speaking that, for somebody to see you and also to be prepared in some way. And that's why working with elders and having a spiritual source and a sustenance that is sort of passing the baton and sharing the information, so that way while it's happening you already have the deep insight that this is actually natural, like a human
Yeah.
incarnation. This um this consistent resiliency and being reborn and accessing more and more of who we are, it requires this communion with life in a full way that will bring
Yeah.
us to our knees and then bring us to the rising over and over again.
Yes. And
Mm.
it also brings our sacred vocation, really, like, it makes it real. We have real issues
Yeah.
like everybody else. We have
Yeah.
to learn a whole lot of skills. And I used to have this vision of having teachers when I first visited Baba Credo Mutwa's home, and his wife Mama Virginia's
Mhm.
home. I had this fantasy before I went to the Northern Cape, which is another province about 1,000 kilometers away from Cape Town.
Okay.
And I had this vision. They were living in this kraal with a lot of people around them and supported by community. And it was the complete opposite when I got there.
Mm.
They were living in a really poor community of people. They were they were not alone, but they were not as supported as I had hoped and dreamt elders should
Should
be.
be.
I kind of like, these people should be cared for and looked after, and someone should be carrying the water, Mama Virginia going to the water pump and pumping that water every morning, you know.
Mm.
And this was, I understood this later. This is part of my teaching, that they themselves had to do all of these challenges and then show up for other people.
Mm.
They show up for people like me who come to the house and, you know, want to sit at the knees of the elder and receive some of that, the storytelling and the wisdom. And behind the scenes, there's not a lot of food in the fridge and there is no car to drive.
Yeah. I have to tell you that that really touches me because this is the way it is sometimes. And in our modern world, it's still like this for a great many of people.
So
And
many.
in the United States, I find that there is this like overarching distortion of how things should be instead of how things actually are.
Yeah.
Right. And that somehow in the spiritual walk, yes, it's true, we're all like working on coming out of poverty and being able to have more and experience more in our lives, and being of service in a way that actually nurtures us. And at the same time, some of our greatest teachers throughout time had a begging bowl, or had, you know, a small amount of means, but it did not ever take away from what they were able to give. It
Yeah.
was actually from this house of a deep sense of satiation that they were pulling and receiving from the divine in such a massive way that what was happening around them wasn't impacting their capacity to love and to share. And
Yes.
it's in this modern day and age, we're seeing, I'm all for us all having, but some of my greatest teachers, and so many times for me, it has been there's a little bit of food in the refrigerator, but it doesn't impact my capacity to be able to love and care for somebody that comes for services. If anything,
Exactly.
there is a humility and a humbleness that we're often asked to learn and
Yes.
embody in the service that is not appreciated or understood in this day and age. And so this conversation is like really bringing it through a little even deeper for me. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Mm. Thank you. You know, this
Yeah.
has been my experience with all the elders whom I have hosted and
Yeah.
continue to host. There's no largesse in the
Yeah.
background.
Yeah.
No, they always say that it doesn't matter how much is in the fridge, and it doesn't matter whether there's no money in the wallet. We will
Yeah.
just show up to do the work.
Yeah.
And initially I used to be shocked. I used to think, no way, is this God? This is not how it should be.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be like this at all. And yet for them, it's almost like this is part of our challenge. This brings us into a deeper respect and honoring for how the universe supports us, because we don't know where that next bowl of food is going to
Yeah.
come from. We trust. It's that basic.
It
It can be
is.
that basic.
It can be that basic, and it's so different for
Yes.
everyone. Like some spiritual teachers will have family supporting and back and money, and others will have just the minimal, and that's part of their own learning.
Yeah.
And so I'm so grateful to deepen into this, because we see a world as spirit and spiritual bloom that is
Yeah.
like really misunderstanding the what it means to live in humility, and to
Yeah.
have this refined, like you can't hold it and embody it if you haven't experienced it. Like if
Yeah.
your teachers have not experienced this level of like being in gratitude for the grace of that little bowl of rice, then there's a superpower that's coming through in that capacity to
Yes.
humble oneself in such a powerful way. So, oh, I want to remember this always. And when I see the world glimmering in its lights around spirituality and how, money consciousness. And it's like, bring it back to the bones.
Yeah.
There's something so rich. And if we can open up into that space, then I really do believe that our inheritance can be much wider in this
Yeah.
generation, right? But there, for those of us
Mm.
that need to go into that, to learn and foster that sense of, it's powerful, because then you can love and give
Yeah.
to everyone. And you're never at a drought because you don't have food in your refrigerator. The food is just the love that is shared through the connection.
Yeah. And I find also it helps you to share what you have then also more easily. I find poorer people, like in the community where my mom lives, there is such a deep sharing
Mhm.
of resources
Yeah.
that wealthier communities just do not, it's just not there. And I think there's a number of reasons, obviously, because people in poorer communities live closer to one another. And
Mhm.
so I can knock on your door and say, I don't have any tea bags, or
Yeah.
can I
Can
have
I
a
have some
half a cup of
sugar?
sugar, please?
Yeah.
I grew up like that and it's still
Yeah.
happening. And I think that is so rich. That makes people rich because they're not stressing about not being supported. It's a very different way of living.
It is. And
It's a very different way of living. And the emphasis is not on going out and making all the money, or like a perfect life is not something people pray for from there. That's
yeah,
not what people are praying for.
it's not.
No,
It's
it's really
not.
not.
Your Baba isn't sitting in his kitchen thinking, I want to upgrade my money consciousness.
What? Sorry, what's that? What are they talking about?
Totally. It's like they're crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
funny.
it just doesn't relate, it
Yeah.
doesn't compute at all. And it takes things to a very, yeah, to a different level that's confusing,
Yeah. It is confusing.
very confusing. Because if my elders taught me that my focus must be on a particular lifestyle in order to launch myself into my sacred vocation, it would just turn my head upside down,
Mhm.
because that would mean I could not be in my life. I
Yeah.
could not be in the body that was struggling, in the heart that was weeping for other people. My focus would be out of my body into seeking something else. And then how would I meet my life, this life
Mm.
that's given me these lessons and these teachings to be with?
Mm. I love that. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's really beautiful.
Yeah, my elder always says, it doesn't matter. The minute I start wanting to complain about something, he's like, no, it doesn't matter. Let's just do the work. I'm
Oh, I
like,
love
okay,
that.
okay, fine. Let's just do the work. That's what I'm here to do. A constant reminder and a teaching. Bring yourself in the moment. In this moment, we're doing the work. We'll deal with
It's so matter of
later.
fact. I think that that's really
Yeah,
important. It's like, just get on with it. Fetch the
just get on
water,
with it.
carry the wood.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that that's something very valuable that our society needs, especially now that we have just access to everything at our fingertips. We're like, I want to order dinner now. I can have any dinner I want delivered to me at my doorstep. Like, it's instantaneous manifestation, but it's so it changes us.
Yeah.
But it's like coming back to these original teachings and being with, yeah,
Yeah. Just be grateful for that glass of water,
water. Yeah.
this moment to sit together like this, both of us
Mhm. I
in
love
safe
these
home with
moments.
a roof over our heads,
Yes.
able to engage with one another and share across the oceans.
Isn't that magic?
It's
It's so
completely
much magic. I want to lean in. I
So
want to
magical.
tell the story about how we met.
Okay.
So, and just lean in, and anytime. So me and Ra were in training together at a mystery school, and we were in, it was France, right?
Yes.
We flew into France, and we had been part of the same group online, but when you meet in person, it's like a whole other world. And our collective group of souls, obviously we really did know each other already and have, traveled the multiverse before together. And so we all flew into Europe, and there were, sisters from Brazil. I mean, like all walks of life, everybody was there. And it was like a congregation, like just all of these spiritual leaders and mamas from all over the globe that were coming together and sharing their medicine. And there was a point during ceremony that Ra started to come around and offer a blessing. Makes me emotional. And it was so powerful. I just remember her coming, and she had clay that she brought from home to bless um, from the
Mm.
motherland. And she came and she anointed our palms and anointed our foreheads. And I immediately received a very old signature for me, which was the lion, and the blessing of the mother that you transferred and transmitted to us. And I just had a great deal of memory and recognition for the medicine you were carrying and our connection. And it touched me deeply. And it just is so incredible that we are able to gather in this way, looking at our ancestry where they were not living in this type of global society. They weren't meeting over Zoom. And here we are, these divine beings gathering all over the world in like the most strangest split. Like you wouldn't even think how Jackie from New York and how Ra from South Africa would end up in France with all
Yeah.
these people from Scandinavia. And like, and yet our generation is really showing that these soul connections are so much deeper than the color of our skin,
Yeah.
right? Like our people are actually not based on our melanin, how much melanin we have in our skin. Our people
Yeah.
are the people, are our soul family, our soul connections, and our blood and bone is a part of that. But I'm sure, as you can attest, there are ancestors and family members that you love, but they're not as a significant role players in your life other than your physical body coming through.
Yeah.
So we're learning that, like, who we choose
Sure.
to commit to and commune with and express an experience with, it's for our choosing now. There's more
Yeah.
freedom around that. You don't just have to
Yeah.
stay with your own. Like, who is your own? The people that you feel that you can feel safe to be truly expressive as to who you are and belong in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that memory. I remember packing and really wanting to take some things, and there was honestly just no money for gifts.
Yeah.
Um, but I come from a culture where you don't arrive empty-handed. Even when you fly across the world, you got to
Yeah.
take something, and 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 so I felt like the clay was really speaking. She was really saying,
Mm.
"You got to take some earth with you, take some
Yeah.
of Africa with you." Um, and yeah, so I wrapped it up, and I had not discussed it with the organizers, and I was very worried. How do you can't just burst in and go, "Hey, I've brought clay. When is my moment?" So I had to really wait. I had to really wait for the right moment, and the right moment presented itself, and I was still very nervous.
Mm.
I knew it was the right thing to do, but
Yeah.
here I am going around the circle with my little bit of clay. Um, it was such a profound moment for me too, to be the one to have
Mm.
brought the clay, and then just feeling everyone. Some people cried, as I put the clay on their forehead. Some people cried, other people just held my hand. It was such a beautiful, sacred moment, that moment.
Mm,
So thank you. Thank you.
thank you.
And this thing about soul kin, in a way, meeting people and just knowing, like, I know you are my sister.
Hmm.
I don't need an explanation.
Yeah.
And I just know, I feel it in my heart. I feel it in my spirit. It is like that. And I was reminded of, historically they say people in different parts of the world in ancient times, they had ceremonies at the same times,
Yeah.
at the full moons, and often the ceremonies mimicked each other. There were elements that were the same.
Chills.
So they might not have had this kind of web that we've got now, but they certainly connected across the web, across the web of life with one another in ways that I think we are still to learn. We are still trying to figure this stuff out.
Yeah. And to know that it's happening regardless, like even when we don't know
Yeah.
about it. So once the
Yeah.
connections are made, it's like this interstellar constellation, right? It's like a convergence. And we can't see it all because we would probably not be able to function to the
Yeah.
level that we are if we were aware of it all the time.
Yeah.
It's hard enough to just
Yeah. Yeah.
to focus on getting the kids, everybody in order. Um, but this we forget that like you are a power spot. I'm a power spot. We are like each one of us is a sacred placement. Like
Yeah.
we've chosen, we've made agreements in this lifetime to be the fullest emanation of who we are and to be a source of power and love on this planet. And so in that placement, all of the people all over the world at these high new moon, full moon, sacred holidays, like when we're coming into like whether it's active contrition or whatever we're doing or sharing simple food together, our souls are connecting. And the
Yes.
earth is we're connecting on the earth, which is lighting up everywhere we are. And so there's
Yes.
always this cross pollination of magic. And where do my ancestors begin and yours end? Like, I mean, it's just it's enormous.
Yes. It is enormous.
Mm.
And it's very special that some of us in our families, our souls said, yeah, I'll be the
Yeah.
one to
Yeah.
to travel across France
Yeah.
and weave there, and then to come back here, and then to go off to Egypt. I'll be
Yeah.
the one to do that,
Yeah.
Please give me courage. Give me courage.
Absolutely. Just prepare the way and get me to where I
Yeah,
need to go and I'll go.
yeah,
And that requires too, yeah, that requires a great deal of trust and leaning back also as to how these things even happen, right? Because a
yeah,
lot of the miracles and the things, you know, yeah, I just feel like prefacing talking just a moment about miracle. So the miracle happens in the mundane, right? So you blessing us with your love and this sacred moment, right, when you're transmitting and you're offering clay to us, that was a moment that touched souls. It wasn't
yeah,
because you came with these big exotic gifts of gold, right? It was the simplicity of your heart and the power that your soul yields that was able to meet and bless. So again, it's sort of like roundabouts back to like the basic
yeah,
foundation of love and trust. And
yeah,
oh, I love that. It's such a I just want to drop it all the way down. It's a really beautiful medicine. Um, and then seeing now that each one of us is having the fortitude and the ability, that the ancestors, that the divine has set this up in such a way that somehow the money comes and we end up on these different continents and we don't even understand how or why or how we met these people or what's going on. But it's like, here, this is part of your inheritance. Here, this is the work, do this, go here, do this. And it requires a lot of trust.
Yeah, and faith and such a deep listening. I can feel now when I want to do something and
Mm-hmm.
there's just no flow. It's like, oh, no, there's no flow. Then I have to back away and go, okay, for now we do nothing.
Yeah.
For now we just carry on with the small things, which really are the big things. You know, the small things of sharing food. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be such a big offering as well. It can just be, excuse me.
No, yeah.
The offering can also just be a pot of food, like
Mm.
cook for today you cook for the guys that are building your house.
Yeah.
Just go do that. That's your sacred offering today.
I love that.
Yeah, make a cup of tea for one of them and really connect when you are doing that. Really connect with the person, not with the overall and the fact that he's got paint all over himself. Just connect with the person. That's your work.
And don't you feel, I sense it for me, and I love this talk. When somebody's thirsty, when there's workmen and you give them a glass of water. I mean, there is something, these little tiny moments are like, oh, the service. I mean, that is the service. And I don't know, I just keep on dancing back and forth with reflecting, because I think it's really important, reflecting on sort of the paradigm that I'm in the United States, and like
Yeah.
this spiritual sphere that I see of like impact and more and more. And it's like, oh my God, less and less. Like just
Yeah.
zip it and come sit down and have a meal with me. Last week, I took a client. I didn't understand what was going on, but they were like, you have to take her into nature. That's the
Right.
session. Hands on, just take her into nature. And it just moved her to pieces. Like she hasn't hugged a tree. Like the things that so many of us take for granted. But the work is like going back to the simplicity, and that these tiny moments of connection, they reverberate through the soul, through us all, in ways that like we can't even comprehend, because
Yes.
our need is to just be one with what is.
Yes. I mean, during the building process, we discovered that so many of the Zimbabweans who were part of the building team do not even bring food with them
Mm,
to work.
yeah.
It shocked me. I was completely shocked to discover that someone can come to work in the morning and 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 not bring anything to eat because all the money they earn have to go home to their families.
Mhm.
Or there's some that bring food to work, a sandwich twice a week. And I used to think, how on earth are these guys doing it? And they are required to do feats of things that you can't imagine, like
Yeah.
carrying 1,000 bricks or heavy bags, 5 kilogram bags of cement, 10 kilogram bags of cement. It is exhausting. So just coming here a few days in the beginning revealed so
Mm.
many stories that was happening here that we decided we cannot ignore this. We cannot ignore what we see. We need to we need to engage and interact. And I felt my ancestors were saying, hey, you
Handle that.
and learn. Come.
Yeah.
This is the school you're in right now. It's not about when you're going to travel and when's the next workshop and
Yeah.
when's the house going to be finished. No, we had to pull ourselves back and really connect with these guys and, just bringing them a cool drink
Mm.
Some lunch times, their faces, the looks on their faces, I I bow down to them for what they did during that
Mm.
time, and for what they're willing to do to support their family, and for what they taught me,
Yeah.
for how
Yeah.
their service humbled me. The little bit of money they earned could definitely not be enough for the job that they were doing and for the sacrifices they were making. It was
Mhm.
a real deep teaching.
Mm.
And so we were in service to that, you know. Fridays we decided, okay, we will cook a proper pot of food, and that's what we'll do. And no matter what else is going on in life, we stop all of that, and this is what we do. And that really brought us into the process of building,
Mm.
into what was going on, into conversations they were having. You know, how's your wife? Oh, this one just got married. Oh, that one is new to South Africa. You
Yeah.
know, this one has no one else in the whole family working. He's the only one working. Everyone is
Mm.
dependent on him.
That's powerful on so many different levels because it also, I've been reflecting on this quite a bit lately, just appreciation for the male form. Oh,
Yeah.
such a grace. I mean, our men are incredible, and
Uh,
in the work and predominantly working a lot with women, I don't think that I really sit with it enough to be like everything that is built around this neighborhood I'm living in right now was built by a man.
yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
are building out the structures that we get to be housed in. It's an
Yeah.
incredible, a very deep and powerful blessing.
It is. It really, really is. I mean, Andrew continues to travel away from home to work on big
Mhm.
structures, on land, in deserts, on ships. I mean, the sacrifice he makes for this family is just,
Mm.
it's so deep. And then to support me, you know, to go, yeah, go, you know, in the early days when I wanted to travel, it was because he gave me all his air miles.
Yeah.
He gave me all those free miles, and he was like, okay, take the miles. It's fine. Go for it.
Yeah.
Um, it has been such a deep gift to walk with someone who is so completely different to me, and yet is so willing to just go and do what needs to be done for the family. Like, okay, I'm doing it. I'll go and do this.
It's powerful. I saw that
It's
too growing up. My father, had his own business and was holding it all down. And I'm really grateful to have seen that. And,
yeah,
it's funny in this world, everybody wants different things, and the reality is being held in that way is powerful. Being loved
it's
in
such
that way.
yeah.
Yeah, and a
My
great
dad
deal
did
of
it
the
as well.
world, like when there's an absence of the father, when there's an absence of the male, which we're seeing so much in culture now, it's huge. I don't
It
think
is.
that we can ever comprehend the depth of the impact of the sacredness of the male, and so I'm just like opening up to this much richer spectrum, like a full circle of like, oh, as the world is like plowing through about patriarchy and all these things, and I'm like, okay, what is the truth and what is now, and really looking into the hearts of what is moving through men and women. There's a lot of distortion and there's just grace everywhere if we're willing to see it. It's just like
Yeah,
a switching our perspective to be in gratitude for what is being served. It's not all toxic. It's not all these things. It's divine inheritance and blessing. And when our men are showing up to support in that way, wow, it moves mountains for us as women.
It does. And it's such a deep teaching about love.
Mm,
You know, it's such a deep teaching about also our different expressions of love, the
yeah.
way I express my love and the way he expresses his love, and what I want, how I want it to be, but how it actually is, and the richness of what is there when I let my wanting for something different that's, you know, based on Hollywood movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Often based on Hollywood movies and other people's stories,
Yeah.
not on actually what I'm living.
Yeah. It's like a fantasy world. And then you just are in the nook of your own life. And it doesn't look anything like what is being
Yeah.
presented in the world. And to
Yeah.
stay true to what is coming through you, it's big, especially with I say this all the time, but with so much exposure, I feel like I'm really like we're becoming the elders now. So we're looking at the next
Yes.
generations and looking at the world with a new lens, right? And I'm like, um, so now that with the internet, for example, and just access to so many transmissions, information, people, it's like the whole world looks so different than what it looks like in our own homes. And we have
Oh,
to
yeah.
stay true to what God is developing and bringing through us and not want what the rest of the world is having and
Yeah.
honor because yeah, I've been down that road and it's tricky business.
It's
It's
very, very tricky business.
it's
Um,
misery. It's like it's as you said earlier in the beginning of the talk, it's like you can't be in your own life.
yeah.
You're not in your own sense of self. You're not in your own vibration. You're living outside of the brilliance that you are, and that's homelessness.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
It is. And it takes such deep work to want to be in this body and to be with this heart and this story of this life for so many of us, that
yeah.
there can be this, you know, longing to escape it. And yet that is where the work is.
Mhm.
This body is the only home we ever really have.
Yeah,
It took me such a long time to learn that, you know, like, where is home? I used to think, where is home? Where am I home? Actually, this is
this
the
is
only home
home.
I'm truly going to have. This is the home that's calling me more than anything else to come to her, to be with her, to feel her.
This has been one of the like deepest teachings for humanity at this time. And it
Yeah,
seems so simple and it's not. Like it's
it's
really
not.
not because the conditioning from our families and from the world um has really shaped us in some way that we had to like uncloak now and unmask all of these levels and layers. Um, I, I'm still integrating this lesson. Like it's still not completely, having left my roots of New York, over 10 years ago, and then becoming very nomadic and then living in France and Italy and Turkey and all over the place. And having to really learn that this home is my body
Yeah,
when I felt so like unrooted and having to deepen my sense of trust and like it was so intense. And
yeah,
then having this opening up into this spaciousness, like once you expand so exponentially and then you decide to root and land back, it there's so much, like there's so much misunderstanding, there's so much to experience that bigness and then that needing to integrate and come down. So having been back in New
yeah,
York for almost 4 years now, I mean it's still happening. Like wow, I'm here now. Like it's back to the simple plate of food for me.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And it became an elaborate exotic meal every day. Like just new sights, new people, new everything, new language, new culture. It's like big lights and big whistles.
Yeah,
And then it just brings it down to the sediment. and I'm
Yeah.
still me no matter where I am. And all of those places no longer have a home outside of me. They're intricately woven into the home of this body. And it's taken a long time, and I'm just really starting to drop that down, that I don't have to seek out even to go to all the sacred sites anymore. I've traveled them. They live within now. And we become pillars for that. And
Yeah.
and also I'm just not that special. Like I am, you know what I mean? But there was a specialness that I was growing inside of me, right? That I was like, because these places are so renowned and because of the mysteries of these lands, and like there's
Yeah.
I grew a specialness, like somehow based on where I lived, that somehow was an indication of like God's shining on me. It's funny
Yeah.
how we build this inside of ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, "Oh, yeah, whether you live in Pittsburgh, whether you live in South Africa, it doesn't matter where you live. It matters where you're at." Like that old saying.
Yeah.
It's profound.
Yeah.
These lessons and initiations just keep it's big, raw.
It really is very, very big. I
Mm.
mean, wow. It makes me think of Hollywood, like, the ultimate kind of spellcaster.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much spell casting going on in the world that we have to be really, really careful. Um, are we engaging? Are we entering a sphere where there's spell casting, where we are being pulled into a direction that is not for us or for our ancestors? I know that if I learn from you and of your traditions, there are some of those traditions that my ancestors will say they are not for us. But thank you so much, Jacqueline, for
Mhm.
sharing that with us, but they are not for us to do. We have different practices, we have different rituals that we require. um so it feels like a really scary, even the theme of spell casting. It's not, it's ancient, and yet when I look on the media, there's a lot of spell casting going on, about what we should look like in our sacred vocations,
Mhm.
what we should say with our sacred vocations. It takes us away from what's real and what's simple, and that I can just show up with simple words, that it doesn't have to be, I don't have to spurt out a dictionary to you in this chat, for it to be real, for
Yeah.
others to receive it. This is my language and the language of my people, and its simplicity is better.
Yeah.
um so all of these things, um yeah, it's big lessons about, I suppose, about us, our power,
Mhm.
what we are really looking for in the world. What does it mean to have a sacred vocation that is connected to supporting other people in some way or another? And and how can we do this in the ordinary moments of a cup of tea with the gardener, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
or a cup of tea with a lady that comes to clean your home? It doesn't always have to be these massive retreats that we go off to.
Yeah.
And, we are seen to be doing these big things. Um, Even though, of course, there is a place for some of that.
Yeah. I love this because, we've touched on this before and I didn't know we were going to go into this. And I love to talk about this. So l- let's just lean in a little bit because I think it's really helpful. Both of us have I think, a comprehensive understanding. I'd like to think, and I'll say it with humility, that we have really moved through a lot of narratives as the spiritual eruption has sort of like been birthed on the planet. We've had access to a lot of different teachings, with the internet. I mean, you can sit in ceremony with folks all over the world. We're called also back to older relating and older relationships because there was a lot of things that needed to be healed. There was a lot of black magic and a lot of spell casting, as you say. And both of us are very aware of that and how heavy that can be. And in this world where people are still like longing to belong, having come out of a lot of this and healed so much of, we our words are powerful, people are powerful, and in our vulnerabilities we become susceptible, cancel and delete,
Yeah.
to forces of nature that we are naive in our understanding with, and we are still learning to develop like this higher level of discernment. And so it's through, right, going through all these things that you and I, that we learn it. You can't learn it without going through the mud. Like part of the
Yeah.
embodiment, right, is being is getting spellcasted, is being a spellcaster. And then you learn, oh, this is not who I am. This is not who I am anymore. This is not who I want to be now. And so we get to like release and heal and move out of these soul connections and these configurations that are not serving who we are and what we've come to develop and bring in this incarnation.
Yeah.
It's big
Yeah.
and messy, as you know.
Yeah. It's a big theme. I think Caroline Mace also has some, I don't know if it's a podcast or she does retreats on spell casting. And I think a few years ago, she came out and she was saying, you know, it's one of the biggest themes in the world at the moment
Mm.
is spell casting, and how to recognize, you know, what when there are spells being woven.
Yeah,
Um, and yes, we have both learned so much through our different experiences. And I know that it's a lesson I needed to learn.
me too.
Um, some of it feels very connected to past lives,
Hmm.
you know, that there were contracts that I was in with particular people that needed to be walked through and lived through and experienced so that I could pour love into these places and
Yeah.
love to myself for things that have happened before.
Hmm.
Um, and then to have a really clear understanding about what my sacred vocation is, what is it that I am here to do in the world, and how do I do that. And I'm blessed that I have these elders who, you know, when I ask a question, they just laugh at me because they are not here to give me an answer. They just like laugh like, oh please, what is she thinking? I'm not here to answer the question for her. Every time I'm like, there's a question. Because I learned in that moment that is an act of disempowerment when I go, can you tell me why we are doing
Yeah.
this and what this is for?
Hmm.
No, you come with me. We do this together. You feel in your heart what is happening. You
What is the
open your eyes.
truth?
What is happening?
Mm.
What is that seeds? What is those beads? Why are we going at sunset? You journey with it inside of yourself.
Yeah.
You are not told the script. You're not given the book to read
Yeah.
everything.
It's called the
You
great
must
mystery for a
experience.
reason.
It is indeed. You must experience it for yourself and know that feeling is true.
Hmm.
That's what's true for you.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel very blessed to have that kind of teaching that is around embodiment, that is around the sensory being of
Yeah.
feeling and seeing and intuiting and, you know, receiving a message and going, oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's what that moment is. This is what I'm doing in this moment.
Yeah.
And that's the ancient way, you know, at least on the African continent, that's really the ancient way. It is about embodiment. It's not about our teachers telling us what to do at every single moment. Yes, there are some practices to do and some prayers to offer. And then we are woven by life herself. Life herself goes,
Hmm.
okay, this way,
Yeah.
that way, you know, I'll sway your boat.
Yeah. It's more like
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so we're just really blessed to have teachers, period, to walk with. It's such a
Yeah,
yeah, that's a whole other topic, but
it is.
to walk with a teacher is so important. And in society where again everybody's a teacher and like it's a soul connection where somebody agrees to walk with you and impart wisdom from the journey and for you to develop this deeper level of trust. And I was thinking this morning too, we call upon our souls commune with teachers that are a part of the essence of who we are, right? Because you
Yeah,
want somebody who is embodying or who is bringing what you are. So if you're a water medicine woman, then you're going to be with a teacher who is a water medicine person.
yeah,
Who can emanate and share from the bounty of what their own spring so that you can access your own. And so, oftentimes I think people think that like they choose their teachers and like the true teachers that are not from, just picking up random classes online. That's not what I mean. But like I've been walking with my teacher, I mean, in this lifetime, at least 7, 8 years now. And it's just, I've been walking with her lifetimes and lifetimes for us to be doing what we're
yeah,
doing now. Right. And same thing with your
yeah,
Baba. And so we we gravitate towards the ones who have come before us that have actually done what it is that what we're here to do.
yeah,
Like we get mentored by somebody who, if you look at Jesus, if you look at some of the great sages of our time, and why we actually look to them is because they were able to accomplish. Mary Magdalene is a major theme right now on the planet. It's because they were able to walk in their human form and embody something very specific that calls us to say, I know that I'm here to do that. You know how to do that. Show me how to do that because I want to do it
yeah,
too because it's for me.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So the discernment comes in the beginning of like what is actually for me.
yeah,
And right, that's through the journey we're transversing what is our medicine. And it starts to like everything starts to move away and we start to see more clearly.
yeah.
Mm.
I have, it reminds me of this when I first met Baba, and he was saying, you need to go do a ritual, you know. So off you go and go do your ritual because you need to have a dream. You need to have a message, a dream, a vision. You need to be guided by your spirits about our relationship. So you know
Mm.
that's right for you. This is not intellectual. You can't say, no, I'm ready. I want to learn from. No, no, that's not how it works.
Mhm.
You need to go and do your ritual, and then we'll see what messages come after that ritual, and then we will decide what is to follow. And that
Mm.
was a deep teaching because, of course, now I'm in the position where where people are coming to me, and
Yeah.
I'm having to do the same thing.
Yeah.
That's the tradition. You go off and you go and make an offering in nature, and then you wait. And
Yeah.
then you get a message, and then we interpret the message because there has to be, you must come into it empowered, not disempowered by
Yeah.
my saying, okay, now go off and learn XYZ. It must not be a relationship of disempowerment. You
I
must come
love
in
that.
with choice.
Yeah.
You must come in.
And also come really willing.
Yeah.
I love that too. Yeah. Oh, I love that you say that. It reminds me too of those times I've had them with my teacher, and students have had them with me, where we're in such a state or so like emotionally about like going through something, right? And then you pick up the phone and like help, like a 911, and that's okay. But then it's also like, I need you to just sit back and breathe and get in your power
Yeah.
before we, you know, this, it's like, I want you in your woman. My teacher, there's been times where she's like, whoa, like just stop and slow down for a minute, because
Yeah.
we're not here to save anyone. They're not here to save us. But of course, the second we call in our teacher, something happens immediately, right? There's
Yeah.
always the support comes in. The line
Yeah.
is, that's the divine is like, poop, okay, we're plugged back in. But now once the plug is plugged in, now just like get back, just breathe and be in your seat. I'm here, but I need you to really lean back into who you are, because yeah, then we can come together and do the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm now with clients and I can feel, there's that leaking of energy, and then there's that wanting to be saved, and that is not my job.
Mhm.
And
It's
yet at the
not.
same time, we are there to offer a loving embrace
Yeah.
and a feel that is full of love, so that people can feel like someone is holding their hand in order to get up again, when they have fallen.
Yeah.
That is part of
Finding
our
that
role.
balance is a big part of the
Yeah,
journey for us, of like how we're going to each hold the mother in us, right?
yeah,
Like, yeah. And I mean, we also are moving through that in our own motherhood,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
of when to step back, when to open up, reading it well and honoring what's coming through for us, trusting what is needed for them. So it's, I
And
mean,
knowing,
go ahead.
sorry,
No, go ahead.
and knowing that we have to save ourselves. It
Yeah.
is again not like the Hollywood spellcasting movement
Yeah.
where we wait for, the shining horse, the rider on the horse to come and save us, or the figure, with the golden cloak to come and save us. We are the shining rider. We
Yeah.
have the cloak in the closet, probably,
Mhm.
waiting to be donned so that we can save
We
ourselves.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So I
big.
love I love that aspect of the work. There's like a maturing
Yes.
over the years. I suppose there's a maturing around knowing, and feeling, like you said earlier, just knowing and trusting the message you received with your client to take her out to nature.
Mhm.
And what happens when we trust that inner knowing?
Yeah. So much.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful. And it's what we have come here to do.
It is. It is. It is what we have come here to do. And luckily, I really is a blessing. And I believe it's incarnational. And, as they say, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so just, it's very profound. Oh, yeah, I'm starting to really feel that. It can be in a busy world, it is with teachers everywhere, to be loved and be chosen by your lineage, and you choosing your spiritual lineage and walking. There is a massive grace when your teacher shows up in physical. There's so many people that don't have teachers on this planet that really need guidance and support. So being able to be strengthened and held by
Mm.
this, yeah, it's like it's a
Yeah.
stronghold, is
Yeah.
what helps to evaporate some of the illusion, and so we can even find that center again. There is
Yeah.
something mysterious that is working through us, supporting us all the time. There are beings
Yeah.
that are always perched,
Yeah.
oh, loving, waiting, just for us to get it, or to protect until we do get it, right? Like, because there's a lot
Yeah.
here, and they're as invested in us. Like, uh, there's something, yeah, it makes me really emotional again. There's an investment in us. Like, it's a reciprocal relationship, on both ends, and we are invested in one another, because each one is coming to bring the next incarnation, the next part of the weave. So all of our beloveds who are, walking with us, and and communing with us. I mean, they're putting in the effort and the work, and we're here to do. In our traditions, they say you do your 10% and we'll do the 90. So you
Yeah.
perform the prayers, you do the ritual, you do the thing and serve the client, and we're the source. We're gonna do the 90%.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's really beautiful to.
Yeah.
You said something once in our conversation that I loved so deeply. It was your communion with Baba. And
Oh my goodness.
I love him already, and I don't even know. I love him because he loves you so much. Um, I feel him smiling when I say that. um, you said that like when you went to him or when he came to you, there was this feeling and something he said about like you sort of do you know what I'm talking about? Where it was like you belong to yourself. I'm not asking you for anything. What was it? It was like you owe me nothing. Or that's how I interpreted it. Like when you were coming into kinship with him, he basically was
Yes,
saying, I want you to, oh, I don't remember.
it's
Or well,
okay.
if it comes,
It's
but
okay.
there was, there was something that he ignited as a teacher that he was saying, like, I'm offering to you, like, you are not subject to have to take on or believe or do something to become one of me, like that he saw you as you.
Yes. I mean, we had a conversation about ancestry. You know, he comes from Zimbabwe. I mean, I was like, I'm from South Africa. He's from Zimbabwe. Like, how is this thing working? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and look, I understand that the lineage of water medicine that the water medicine that Baba is initiated in is a lineage of kinship and soul kinship to me. And he recognized me immediately,
Mhm.
and I had concerns about, you know, am I to do the rituals in the way that you teach me? Like, we had some of these conversations, and he said, look, there's many, many spirits in the world, and I I am passing on the teachings to you, and you are not, um, I am not the guru of you. I am
Mhm.
not the guru. I am passing on the teachings, and then you communicate with your ancestors, and you check in with them whether this is the way that you are to do it, and then you follow that guidance. So you are taking this forward, but you are also adapting it to your ways, to
Mhm.
what suits your people. um, and and that is real power. It's not at sitting at the knee and following everything that he's saying to the letter. So I don't know if that was the conversation we had.
It was similar to that. Yeah,
It
it
was.
carries the essence of that. You know, it's interesting because
Yeah.
I come from a guru lineage. I have a guru. He's in the spirit world. And it's beautiful. I actually, I'm grateful we're going to talk about this because um, in our modern day world, there's such a misunderstanding about what that actually means because we see the Hollywood flashing lights and we see all the distortions, that have been very predominant on the planet around what it means to actually be in a guru relationship. And
Yes.
so I've had to really navigate this because I would have never imagined in my life that that would be the family that came for me, that's been walking with
Yeah.
me the whole time. It's not something you choose, it chooses you. And it's something you just know then. So I had like all these cultural beliefs from living in America and just being in the world at this time as spiritual teachings are becoming so provocative and so available. And I remember even feeling like anger and resentment and like kicking back and not wanting to take my place within this lineage as me. And not understanding that the true blessing of the guru is, as you're saying, is to be the full embodiment of who you are, be the guru within you, be the emanation of the teacher. It's just this high divine wisdom, this level of trust and power that we are able to yield from within our own sense of being. So we see a lot of like bowing down, and we see a great distortion with so many masters that are looking for followers. And of course, I could never contribute to being in something like that because my soul's not here to serve that. But my teacher, it's so powerful, and it just brings up so much blessing. It's like commitment to the truth is what the guru is. It is serving the highest level of the truth of who we are, remembering who we are, and coming from a line of gurus who are invested in us acknowledging and embracing who we are and being our own inner master, and opening up into the power of who we are, never to be to succumb or to be something other than, but to embrace and be, to be held on the shoulders of all of those that were able to in their body create miracles, carry the energy, have a true line of divine strength and brilliance, so that we are able to access our own inheritance. It's like going to who you know. If I want to create miracles, I have to go to somebody who knows how to create miracles,
Yeah.
right? So for a long time, it's like Jesus, all these different people. So whatever our medicine is, it's like, oh, of course, that's who the teachers are. And there can be resistance because we don't want to claim that much power, or because we don't, it's scary, or the rest of the world doesn't understand it. So yeah, it's big for me, like really leaning into this lineage and having like Shirdi Sai Baba is like the grandfather of our lineage. He's a Black man, Muslim, guru of gurus. And it's like for me to even be practicing like some of the Indian traditions at first was like, what is going on? Like, why is this happening? And it's not about the tradition, it's about the power and the energy that my soul is choosing. And it's just part of me. Like, just like I had this very powerful, strong connection with Africa in the beginning years of my opening. I mean, I have had ancestors with me that are not of my complexion from the beginning of time. And so our human mind can't comprehend and understand, like, why are all these Black men with me?
Yeah.
Why are there's all these Babas,
Yeah.
right? And these Indian beings. And it's like, because it's bigger than this embodiment, like it's bigger than this flesh.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that I don't obviously get taken back to my homelands and like nurture in my own blood ancestry and live there. Like that's all part of the weave, but it just doesn't define what each one of us has come uniquely to serve. Like it really looks different for each one
Yeah.
of us. And so I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of homecoming in reckoning with that. And like, wow, like really? this is what's this is what's really happening. And
Yeah.
it's big. It requires a great deal of trust and a lot of understanding for the grace of
Yeah.
who shows up, you know?
And it's not linear. It's not
Yeah.
logical.
Yeah, it's not. It's
It's
spirit
not linear.
world.
It's not logical. Um, you can't intellectualize it. Um,
You
yeah, and
can't.
yet at the same time, there's alignment when it happens.
Yeah,
There's,
there
I
is.
know that my ancestors, the ones who, or really my spirits, the ones who work through me and with me, they really like Baba. They
Yeah.
approve.
They
We have
exactly.
found a teacher. We are in alignment with the elder, and the elder works in a way of empowerment as is in the ancient way. It's the
Yes.
ancient feminine way. He's deeply connected to his own feminine wisdom,
Yeah.
and from
Yes.
that he pours that forth into the work we do and into his relationship with me, and I can feel it, the
Yeah.
amount of calls we have where we're just really giggling. We're
I
not
love
saying
that.
anything. We just really are having a frequency sharing, a frequency hug with one another in
Mm.
support, me in support of what he's doing in Zimbabwe and him in support of what I'm doing here. And the fact that we are not yet in each other's space, and it's beautiful and it's innocent and it's love filled and it's so healing. And
Mm.
I'm so grateful for that. I feel so blessed
Yeah.
to walk with an elder, and I'm
Mm.
so happy that you are too. You
Yeah.
know, the,
Yeah.
there are some aspects of that constellation that one cannot express in words.
Yeah.
That is a balm. It's a balm for the soul, but it's also a balm for the journey and for all the challenges that we continue to face as life initiates us
Yeah.
over and over and over again.
Absolutely. And just knowing like just the intelligence of what our ancestors and what our souls knew that we would be open to receive. So it's like it's funny because there's a lineage of men. There's men and women, but my teacher who passes is a French woman. Of course, she'd be French. I've lived in France, and it's part of this lineage. And so it's like all of these, divine male Baba figures. And in this life, I needed a woman for me to be able to feel this openness and this work. I needed her. And just in the same way you specifically needed a Baba, like you need a physical man so each one of us has this way. And it's so unique. It's not a one size fits all. It's like it's a
No.
perfect soul configuration for you to embody the medicine that we've each come to experience and express. That's
Yeah.
yummy.
It is so yummy.
Oh,
And there are so much that there's so much that is beyond language, that is connected to frequency, and that is also connected to the codes that they have, that they embody, because it's more than knowledge. There's also codes and stories that have been passed down through these lineages that kind of oozes into
yeah.
our relationship and oozes into us, as we engage with them and as we say yes to the work that is being born through our relationship with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That continuous yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Mama mia.
Ah,
Yeah.
thank you, beautiful sister.
Thank
Wow,
you. I love you. I
thank you.
received so much from this. I'm sure our listeners will be receiving and listening. Hopefully they're listening with their hearts and receiving. And also there's a lot of beautiful things to think about that we've shared.
Yes,
We've kind of moved
yes.
through a rich basket of we're back to the basket.
Our basket, our basket of inheritance. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I,
I just want to say, I'm sorry I cut you off. I just want to say that I can really see why the divine is asking me to create this podcast and to have these conversations, because I'm already growing and learning and healing and feel so much moving just from being with beautiful beings and having these rich and textured conversations, because they're
yeah,
transmissions. We're just like
yeah,
And
Yeah.
especially when we love each other, it's even more intense,
Oh.
right? It's like my people and your people, and we're just here together. I was before we started recording, I'm like, Ra, we're both in our colors. I feel like we're going into ceremony. But it is
Yeah,
everything.
absolutely.
This is a ceremony for us.
Yeah. And we brought our people with us and they
We
knew
did.
it. They were like, yeah,
Yeah.
when we want to be, we want to have that special cloth and that special dress.
Yes,
It's a very special intergalactic gathering, isn't
it
it?
is. It is. Mm,
Yeah, it feels so healing to, like, when I just think like where you are across the ocean, the many mountains, it feels so healing that we could just gather and share heart to heart and just flow with what kind of naturally
mm,
unfolded. I just love the way you've you're weaving this together.
mm,
And I'm so grateful for the invitation to sit with you
mm.
in this kind of conversation.
Thank you. I'm so grateful too. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your true sisterhood.
Mm,
And I want to talk more about that in the future, like just looking at what words we use and how to hold them in their true esteem and true value.
yes,
Yeah, and what does real community look like? What does real connection feel like? And that's we'll do it a number two segment. Oh,
yes. I look forward to that, and I hope that all the people who listen, that they feel the love that we've shared, and they feel the love that our elders are carrying forward, and that our ancestors are, some who are sitting with us, who
yeah.
are sharing that and wanting to spread that, that
Mhm.
love. May that love and that laughter and that giggles and that juiciness of this sisterhood, may it ripple and touch them, and may they be
Absolutely.
blessed.
Yeah. May
Yeah,
they
and
be
may you be
blessed.
blessed, my beautiful sister. May you be blessed
Mm.
for all the days of your life.
Thank you, Mama. I received that blessing. It's such a beautiful gift. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so very, very much.
Mm.
I love you.
I love you. I love you so much. May the
Mm.
sun continue to shine on every facet of your life and your experience and expressions. And may you always feel guided, supported, and strengthened all the days of your life.
And you, my beautiful sister. And may your ancestors and your work be blessed. And I
Thank
look
you.
so forward to more,
To
to
more,
more
to
with you.
more. Me too, me too,
Yeah.
me too. So, Ra, tell the global world how they can
Yes.
get in touch with you as far as if anybody feels called to work with you or just be in your sphere of world.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
My website is called www.divinelotus.co.za, where you can look at some of my offerings and the scope of my work. And then I'm obviously based in South Africa. I do a short Magic of Yoni course for small groups of women, and a longer year-long course that incorporates both yoni healing work as well as womb heart healing work, connected also to the chakras. And people can contact me on WhatsApp on +27 721 786 179. And then my email address is ra360@gmail.com.
Okay. Would you please email me those details so I can put them in the
Yes,
notes below
yes,
so that it's easy for them. Okay. All right.
will do.
Beautiful. Mm.
Blessings to you.
Blessings to
May your day
you.
be blessed. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
I look
Mwah.
forward to seeing you soon. And thank you,
So,
everybody, for watching.
so much love to you. So much love to
So much
everyone who's
love.
going to be receiving this as well. Mwah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.